Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to have a discussion with you all in regards to a particular subject that trying to find my lighter, y'all, but I don't even see it. Okay. In regards to a particular subject that came to mind, today I was in the car driving with my children. Some of you all may know I have 6 children, and all of them are between the ages of, the oldest is 9, the youngest is 2. And so, I was just thinking to myself, I want to start giving my children very vital lessons at this point in their life, while they're still readily absorbing things, between the ages of 1 and 7 years old. That's when you're the most impressionable, okay? And so many of my children are within that age group. And so I thought, if I could go back to my childhood and tell myself something, what would I have said to myself? And it just came to me, and I was like, I told my children, I said, because you're so young and you all have such a great imagination, I said, think about the type of thing that you might want to do, that you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life, and think about it every single day. You know, picture it, do things. I gave them an example. I said, if you see yourself making beautiful dresses, beautiful princess dresses for people, think about that daily. Do something like drawing those princess dresses or doing something to use your imagination to create that. And, really put emphasis and focus on that. Okay. Obviously, I said it to them in a way where it will be understood for young children, but I thought that that was very important, and that's one thing that we tend to miss in our childhood. Um, Once you become an adult, many of us have gone through tragic events. Not everyone has dealt with that, but many of us have gone through tragic events from childhood all the way into adulthood. So by the time you become an adult, you first of all, your inner child has been tucked away somewhere. Okay, you don't even have that playful nature that you once had, or that creative imagination that you once had, because you still have yet to do the work to heal your inner child wounds. Not saying that that's the case for you all, but it's the case for many, because you have to really go deep beneath the surface to get to those wounds in order to heal the inner child and to be able to move forward. But once the inner child is healed, then that means that you have a very creative imagination that you need to take advantage of and begin using, okay? Where attention goes, energy flows. Many of you have already heard that. And so, one thing that I wanted to discuss with you all is in regards to your fears. What are your fears right now? How are those fears obstructing your path? And what you can do in order to release yourself from those fears and have forward movement and progress in your life. And so, you know, do not allow your progress to become obstructed by the paralysis of analysis from the energy of fear. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Do not allow your progress to become obstructed by the paralysis of analysis through fear. So, what do I mean by that? When you're overly focused in on something, there's a polarity to everything. You can be focused in on something to a degree where you're putting all that love and energy in it. You're putting in passion, you're putting in love, and you're giving it that energy in terms of creating the vision, okay? So every day that you wake up and every night that you go to bed and all throughout the day, you're imagining and you're creating what you desire to become and those things that you desire to attract into your life. That's on the high vibrational end of things. On the low vibrational end of things, you can be so overly analytical, but coming from a space of negative energy, coming from a space of fear. You might be so focused in on, let me give you an example. You might be the type of person, let's say you like to watch TV shows like Maury and Love and Hip Hop and Basketball Wives and things like that. And in your own mind, you might think that you're gaining some free information on, the players. You feel like you're learning about the nature of the players. And in your mind, you're saying, I would never go for a man like that. I do not want that type of man in my life. I am not about to allow myself to get into that type of relationship. And all it's doing is reawakening those situations that you came out of in the past. You might have attracted to you those types of men in the past. Well, what's happening is you're so overly focused on analyzing the negative aspects of what you don't want that you actually end up creating exactly what you don't want. Why? Because where attention goes, energy flows. So even if you're doing it from a space where you're not completely conscious of what's happening, you're still creating something for yourself. And so this is why it's so important to recognize that, your thoughts create things. And whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, they're still creating things, okay? So when you come into the space of awakening, you begin to realize, well, why not create consciously, okay? If it's going to create something anyway, then you need to be putting your thoughts in a direction towards those things that you actually want to happen versus what you don't want to happen. Because there's no separation in terms of, okay, if you say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want cake, I don't want cake, I don't want cake, well, you're going to end up with a big ass cake sitting at your door eventually, okay? So then it's like, all right, say what you do want. Focus in on what you do want versus what you don't want. You can, especially, okay, let's see. I want to get right into this. I pulled out multiple cards. We're going to start discussing your fears, okay? So I'm starting off here by seeing that a large part of your fears is coming into union with yourself. With this card, and I'll let you all see it. I don't really want to pull too many of these up because I have them laid out in a specific way, but this is a card of integration, balancing out the yin and the yang, the masculine and feminine energies within yourself. Now, this integration, it takes work because a lot of times you'll find that either you lean in too far into your masculine energy or too far into your feminine energy. You can be too driven by your emotions or too driven by a more analytical perspective of life. Spirituality versus practicality. Needing to bring balance and to merge both. Okay? That can be a scary thing because on both ends, there's sacrifices that will have to be made. Meaning, in terms of your spirituality, you might find that you have to leave certain traditional belief systems in order to take that path that's going to allow you to really evolve and see life from a higher perspective. Because maybe, not saying that being in church is not beneficial to some, because I was the person that went to church for many years of my life. I would say that it might have set a piece of the foundation in terms of what faith is. I'm not going to say it set the whole foundation because really it was a very unstable foundation in terms of my faith that I had being in the church setting. Okay. Because a lot of what kept me there was surrounded by fear. And so this is what we're talking about. So if we're talking about your spiritual aspect, which is more leaning on your feminine side, okay, your feminine energy, because we all have masculine and feminine energy, then you might fear walking away from certain belief systems or what other people might think if you take this road, if you take this path. Then on the other end, leaning into your masculine energy, the more practical side of things, you might fear, well, I have this gift, I have this talent, I have this strong passion for this particular thing, person, place, or thing, but what will people think if I take such a drastic leap to leave this career path and to start something new? Or to leave this person that I've been with that I know is toxic and karmic to me, but my family likes them, or it's more practical, it's more stable financially, but my heart is over here. Or, just anything, leaving a state that you might have grown up in for your entire life and all of your family is there. Nobody has ever left. They were born there and they died there for generations. And it's like, but you just want to do something different. That's the more practical side of things. So it can be scary when you have to integrate because you're actually going to have to take the first step towards these things. And that first step is probably the hardest step to take because that means stepping outside of the boundaries and the parameters that have been established for you by your own thoughts, by the people that you're around, and by society's influence on you. So that integration, balancing out your feminine and masculine energies, it takes work, it takes consistency, and it takes dedication. But it can be done, okay? Then there's another fear of, well, will you reap the harvest? You know, will you reap the harvest? And I feel like that's largely also dealing with, because that card says ripeness. I feel like it's largely dealing with the amount of time that it might take. Are you able to dedicate yourself to the amount of time? So you might even have a fear of losing time, not having enough time to go after and to pursue those things that you desire. And so you end up receding from that and staying and keeping yourself stuck in a position that's not it's not pleasing to you, but it's convenient for you, because you feel that time is of the essence. And right now I have to be focused in on getting this mortgage paid off within 10 years. And so I'm going to have to stay at this job for at least another 9 years in order to make this happen. Because if I was to leave and to pursue that thing that I really desire to do, how long is it really going to take for me to actually be able to accumulate what I'm making or more? Then you become more focused, overly analytical. Like I told you, do not allow your progress to become obstructed by the analysis. Do not allow your progress to become obstructed. I had to write this down, y'all, because it's a tongue twister for me, okay? Do not allow your progress to become obstructed by the paralysis of analysis through fear. And so you end up analyzing your situation. You spend all this time thinking about what ifs, but they're all negative and they're all fear-based. You've been doing this for years. You got that beautiful singing voice, but you won't allow the world to hear it. You won't take the first step, which is the biggest step, to pursue that thing that you love and that you're actually gifted at, because you're over analyzing it from a negative perspective. That means that there's still work that needs to be done on that child, that inner child that you have within you. Because if that child is healed, then you know that it's limitless. Children only, they do not create boundaries for themselves. It is the adults that is around them that actually creates those boundaries for them, okay? And so you're being called, I feel like also one of your fears is doing something different, okay? Standing out and being different and being seen, the world seeing that difference, because this flower had to grow through a very rough, concrete. And you know how sometimes you walk down the sidewalk and you might see a little flower that's coming through the cracks, and it's unexpected to have it there, and so you might take notice of that flower more so than you do those that are lined up in the grass where you see a bunch of them that look the same. So this particular flower, it grows up in the middle of the concrete. This would be you. And that card says courage, okay? So having the courage to be different, having the courage to be okay with the fact that you are different, okay? Because this flower can't grow through this concrete unless it was actually implanted, or unless it came into being through a different measure from the rest. So had it been planted in soil, then yes, it would look very much so like the rest of those flowers. But you came in and you were called to be different. You are different. Some of you might have even been the black sheep of your family. And so you have always been different. But because of you being different, you became even more insecure about that and did the exact opposite of moving to, taking those differences and using them to your advantage. Rather than taking them and using them to your advantage, you might have become insecure about the fact that you was different. And it pushed you even more so into this energy of wanting to fit in, wanting to be like the rest so that you wouldn't draw attention to you in terms of those differences. I know I was that type of person growing up. I was always very different from those people around me. And so it pushed me into this energy of being I was introverted, extremely though. I was leaning very far into my introverted energy, to the point where I was very shy. And it wasn't, you would find out who I was if you was doing something that was unjust towards me or towards someone else around me. But outside of that, I was very much so in my shell for many years, up until almost my late 20s, mid to late 20s. And so you know that you're different. You've always been different, but that difference is what allows you to shine. That difference is what allows you to attract and to do something. That's why you've always been called to do something different, because you are different. And so that fear comes from being courageous and bold enough to be unapologetically you. And so I also see there's a fear of an energy of self-sabotage. Do you have what it takes to actually hold the vision until it comes into fruition? That's another part of that ripeness card. Do you have what it takes to hold the vision? Because this might have been a pattern. You might have picked up a pattern of self-sabotaging those things that you wanted to do when it was something that took you off the path that was given to you by those around you. Something that would take you outside of the boundaries. You might have saw the vision and maybe even made preparation to move towards it, but you might have ended up self-sabotaging it out of fear that you was not going to be able to carry it all the way through, or out of fear that once you did carry it through, subconsciously you was fearful of what other people would think. And so the postponement deals with, first of all, in this card, you see that there's two different perspectives that this person can view life from. You can see it from everything being black and white, or you can see it from this vast, all of these color spectrums that exist here. And so there's a fear of seeing things from a more colorful perspective, because you've been handed the black and white version all of your life. And so to see things from a more colorful perspective would mean that you're going to have to add your own imagination and your own creative gifts to it in order to make it more colorful. Because one thing about, just our existence in general is that if you do not experience something through your six senses, tasting, seeing, feeling, hearing, speaking, or that sixth sense, which is your intuitive wisdom, that higher consciousness, okay? If you don't experience something through those six senses, then technically it does not exist. At least in your world, it does not exist, right? So you can go through your entire life and never know that. Let's just say, if you never saw a house that was made out of pure gold, if you was not able to experience it through one of those six senses, then technically in your world, it does not exist. You can go from the time that you was born all the way until the time that you take your last breath and never experience that house that's built in gold, whether you see it on the internet, whether you hear about it through someone else. If it does not exist in your own mind or in your reality, then in your world, it literally does not exist. Does that mean that somewhere in the cosmos or somewhere across the world that it actually isn't there? No, it just means that in your reality, it does not exist. And so when you know this, then it's like, okay, you are literally creating your own reality. You are creating your own world. Okay? You have been given the keys as the co-creator to envision and to create through your own, whatever you can. If you can see it, then you can create it. It's just that simple. If you can see it, then you can create it. I tell people all the time, like when we go into our dream state and we see certain things and it's like, okay, I never saw this person a day in my life, or I never seen this particular place a day in my life, but I saw it in my dream, or I saw them in my dream, then you better believe that somewhere it exists because you was able to experience it. Okay, through one of your six senses. And that would be that sixth sense, that creative mind, okay, that higher consciousness, the spiritual version, the spiritual aspect of yourself that's able to tap in to those things that those other five senses have not experienced. And so just know that you're being called to literally shift your perspective and recognize that if you can visualize it in your mind's eye, then you can create it in your reality. Now, do some things take longer to come into fruition than others? Absolutely. Because along the way of you creating these things and stepping out of that energy of fear and actually creating it from a space of love and from a space of compassion, um, and using that creative energy and your imagination, through that energy, I just lost my train of thought, y'all. But through that energy, you're going to actually be able to create it because in your own mind, you've been able to envision it. Okay. So in your world, you can create whatever it is that you want to create for yourself. Okay. So then you have here rebirth. So rebirth is all about that transformative energy. Okay. In order to be reborn, you had to actually go through a death. And so this is in alignment with this card of transformation. So this person, this will be that death, okay? And this is that transformative energy of being reborn and rebirthed into something more powerful and greater. And so this is in your fear category. Going through the transformative changes that it takes for you to come out on the other side as a more empowered, stronger co-creator of your life. Yes, it can be, it's not an easy transformation. Okay, I can say that 100%. It is not an easy transformation, but you have to be dedicated to the process. Okay, you have to understand that on the other side of those changes that are taking place internally and externally, is actually moving you towards something that's going to be great. You become the greatest version of yourself. Okay, through these transformations and these changes that you go through, and so a large part of the fear could be, all of the changes that might end up happening as a result of you shifting your energy and moving towards those things that you love, and releasing those things that are no longer serving you, actually taking a reality check in terms of those people that you're around, and really really analyzing things from a space of, not from fear, but from courage. Okay, it takes a lot of courage to walk away from people that you've been around all of your life, but you know that you have to do it because they have been obstructing your transformation. It takes courage to do that. It takes courage to have that reality check about that relationship that is not serving you emotionally. Your heart is completely blocked off, and as a matter of fact, you become bitter as a result of being in a relationship. But you stay because it's convenient. You stay because financially you are able to create stability. But what happens is you call to you certain life lessons that are going to keep coming in, that are going to be very painful, to show you the importance of taking your power back and releasing those things that don't serve you so that you can close out that cycle and move forward. Because one thing that is always consistent in life is change. Change is for sure. And so a lot of people get so comfortable with being uncomfortable that they go through changes, but these changes keeps them on this hamster wheel of the same type of cycles all throughout their life. So that means that even if you change out the person, let's say if you've had karmic relationships and you switch out the person, you just end up attracting the same type of person in a different vessel because you still haven't done the work to understand your own value and to go within and to practice that self-love that's going to allow you to attract people to you that's going to be a direct reflection of the love that you've created within yourself. And that's largely dealing with that integration, balancing out your masculine and feminine energies. You have to do that within first before you can attract your masculine or your feminine to you. And that goes with everything in life, not just love, friendships, partnerships, career paths, all of these things are all a part of the cycle of evolution, the cycle of life. And if you resist it, then you're going to go through changes, but these changes are not going to be comfortable. And the changes are going to be the same type of cycles over and over again until you decide enough is enough. I'm going to get this lesson so that I can move forward. And so that transformation can be scary because it means dying to the old and embracing the new. And then also, I feel like your fear is largely dealing with, if you've overcome these things, let's say you've gone through the transformation and you've gained this wealth of knowledge. Now you see life from a different perspective. Okay. You know that your thoughts create things. You know that you are a spirit having a human experience. you gained all this knowledge about the universe and the things that exist around you and the spiritual aspect of things. You see things for what it is. You know, you've mastered many of these things. Okay, obviously we're all still learning. We're always this, the student and the teacher at the same time. But let's just say you've gained this, wealth of wisdom because you've gone through these changes. Then some part of you might be fearful of what other people think if you are expressive of your truth. Are people going to ridicule you? Are they going to be accepting of you? And a large part of, okay, you've come into this understanding, you gained all this wisdom, and so now it's like, okay, you got to go and create connections with a new group of people that are like-minded, that's not going to bring you backwards in your energy or bring a lot of negative draining energy to you, but freeing yourself in this energy of understanding. This card is coming out here, understanding, to go towards like-minded people who have created peace within themselves and who wants to maintain that peace, because these are the doves here. And so leaving from that caged in mentality, okay, that cage that you might have trapped yourself in or allowed other people to trap yourself in, to go towards other like-minded people and to do something different. And so that fear could be that fear can be like, okay, you've gained this understanding. Okay, that's what that says down there. You've gained this understanding, but do you have the courage to fly out of the cage now? Because you can sit in there all day long. You can have this whole wealth of wisdom and never do anything with it. The whole purpose of balancing out spirituality with practicality is taking that wisdom that you've gained and now using it in your physical life to create balance. Okay, so that can be scary. I feel like that's one of the fears for many of you, is now utilizing your wisdom to your advantage. Okay. And then for some of you, I'm also hearing that the amount of wisdom, the wisdom that you have obtained, is not to be withheld from the world. You're actually being called to share that wisdom. And so some of you have a fear of stepping out there and joining hands with those other people who are those light workers and those who are the chosen to, shift the energy of the universe. Some of you are afraid of coming out into the world with this wealth of wisdom and speaking your truth, out of fear that others might, whatever their opinion is, out of fear of others' opinions, or just out of fear of, being in front of large groups of people. So you're being called to use that wisdom, that wealth of knowledge that you've gained, to understand that there's nothing to fear except fear itself. And when you have this much wisdom, okay, because this is the Master card, that's what that says down there, the Master. When you have this much wisdom, it's not something that you withhold and that you keep to yourself, okay? That would be selfish. You're being called to take that wisdom and to bring it towards, and to feed it to, society, whether they're ready for the, only for the milk, or ready to upgrade to, to the meats. Some people don't like to use that term meats, because you might not eat meat. I personally just stopped eating meat altogether. So I'm proud of myself for that, but that's all subject here. And so then it's that energy of just being patient. Okay, some of you are fearful of, you have this gift that's growing within you. And so do you have the patience? Do you have the patience to allow it to grow and to actually come into fruition? That's a large part of where the fear lies. So how is it affecting you? It's affecting you in a way where, first of all, you're stressed out about it. Okay, you're stressed out about these changes that you need to make in your life and taking your power back. You're stressed out about the fact that you have this gift, you have this opportunity that's being presented to you, but you're deceiving yourself. You're trying to mask yourself and pretend that it doesn't exist. You're deceiving yourself into believing that you don't have a desire to move towards this thing, person, place, or thing, and it's stressing you out. Okay, you know that you're not listening to your intuition. You know that your intuition is guiding you to take a certain path, or to go a certain direction, or to move towards a certain person, place, or thing. But you are choosing to ignore your own intuition by deceiving yourself into tricking yourself to believe that you're perfectly comfortable and perfectly fine where you are. But it's still plaguing you. It's not leaving your mind, it's not leaving your thoughts. It's something that you're suppressing, okay? And it's actually causing you to lose faith, okay? It's causing you to lose hope in your pursuits. It's causing you to not be able to fully heal, okay? Because the more that you suppress things and the more that you withhold yourself from those things that you know you're being called to do, the more that you start to lose faith in yourself. And so it takes you backwards in your energy. The more that you do courageous acts, the more confidence you actually build up for yourself. And I can say that from my own personal experience. Like I told you all, I was very shy. I was very introverted. And the last thing that you would have caught me doing is what I'm doing right now, if you would have met me about 10 years ago. Because I was fearful of other people's opinion. I was fearful of showing people my true authentic self. I was fearful that people would know that I was different. Because I was. And even though I was fearful of people knowing this about me, they still saw it either way. They were still very clear of the fact that I was different from them, even though I tried to hide it by keeping myself in this protective shell or building this protective barrier around myself. It was still very clear that I was different. So you might as well, people are going to talk about you either way. They're going to talk about you whether you being your true authentic self or whether you are trying to wear a mask. But they're going to talk about you even more so when you're trying to be something that you're not. And so it really shouldn't come down to whether or not people talk about you, because those people that speak negatively against you are the ones that are unhealed themselves. And so it's like, it's a counterproductive energy. And so I see that it's causing, you to be in this energy of being unhappy. And it has you at this crossroads that you are stressed out about. You're losing sleep about taking this new path. You're losing sleep about taking this new creative endeavor or this new passion that you have, a new idea, something that has come through, a desire to go towards a specific person that you might love. And you're refusing to listen to your intuition. But what is happening is it's causing you to stay in this hamster wheel of the same type of cycles over and over again because of your refusal to take the first step. And you end up, instead of moving towards your happiness, you end up constantly going back towards those things that make you feel miserable. And you continue to attract those types of things that make you feel miserable because you're telling the Most High God, you're telling the universe, you're telling, yourself, I don't deserve this. Even though my heart tells me that this is what I should do, I'm not going to go after it because I don't deserve it. If you knew you deserved it, you would go and get it, okay? Especially when it's being handed to you. Because, I'll show you the cards. This is the Ace of Wands. This is being handed to you. This is something that allows you to ignite that passion and that excitement and that creative energy, that new spark. This is something that allows you to, open yourself up to something that's brand new, but it's going to awaken your creative nature. So whether it's a person, place, or thing, when it's being handed to you and you choose not to take it, even though your heart is being drawn in that direction, then you continue to sit back and deceive yourself into believing that where you're at right now is completely fine. Then your thoughts are going to continue to plague you. You're going to continue to be at a crossroads in your life because this was here. Stressed out, losing sleep at night because all you can think about is being at that crossroads, not knowing which direction to go in. But if you just take the blindfold off and allow yourself to listen to that intuition that's telling you that there's a specific path that you're being called to go down, and just take the step, take the first step to do what's necessary, you better believe that everything, your whole spiritual team, the Most High, the universe, everything is going to come into alignment to ensure that you make it safely to wherever it is you're being guided to go. But nobody's going to pick you up and set you on that path. You got to be the one to do it because what you do possess is free will. So you can spend the rest of your life until your last breath dealing with the same type of karmic cycles over and over again, just to have to come back here. And it'll be that much harder in the next lifetime because you chose not to get the lesson in this one. You chose not to pass the test in this one, because I feel like many of you possess the answers already to the test. You just choosing not to take the test because you know that if you pass that exam, that means now you got to do something with that certification, right? And so this is what you're being called to do. Some of you are in this hamster wheel of being overly focused on not going into poverty, because some of you might have taken some losses. So it might have set you into that energy of lack mentality where you felt like you lost everything at one point. And so now your focus is more so on your stability. Your focus is more so on putting in that work and that energy and that effort to prevent you from going back into that type of situation again. But I'm telling you, the Wheel of Fortune is in the reverse right next to that. And so it's almost like you'll be doing this repetitive, overworking and overly focused in on creating financial abundance for yourself. And then life is going to send in another scenario that causes you to go backwards. And then there you are trying to catch up again. And then it sends you right back. Then you start to catch up again. And then it just keeps happening over and over again. That's what the Wheel of Fortune is all about. And so it's like you never get a chance to, all of this work that you're putting in, and never leads you towards your happiness. But it's only because you're spending too much time putting your energy into something that is not for you anymore. It's served its purpose already, person, place, or thing. So for some of you, if this is dealing with your finances and you find yourself, you got this one job that you've had for 10 years, you can't stand that job, or you might have the same type of career that you're in. Maybe you're, I don't know. Let's just say you work in healthcare. I can say that because I was a nurse. Let's just say you work in healthcare and you get this job, but you find yourself, you put in all of this work in order to maintain your stability, and you end up losing that job. Then you end up starting all over again. Now you find yourself, you got to go put in another application. You put in all this work to try to catch up again for what you lost because you didn't have a job for a time. And now you end up losing that job. And a lot of times you end up losing those jobs because you really don't want to go. You're probably late every day, probably calling off every other week. You probably falling ill or sick because you're stressed out, and so you end up missing days. And so there's scenarios that come into your life to cause you to start all over again. So you just keep on putting in all of this focus and this emphasis, hoping that things will change, but the cycle just continues. Same scenario over and over again. So how are you going to come up out of this? Let's talk about it. What you had coming out is new beginnings. How are you going to come up out of this? This is the Fool card. This is about taking the leap of faith and taking that first step. What's behind her is that door, that foundation, that comfort zone that was not so comfortable. Finally taking that step to move out of that and seeing that the world is big. You not only is the world big, but the universe, is big, is infinite, is never ending. One thing that came to mind, this kind of off subject, but it is relevant. It's because I never thought to myself, like, you think about the outer space and you say, okay, I wonder what's out there. Then it's like, well, wait a minute. I'm out there. We're out there because the planet Earth is in outer space. Okay. And so it's like, we don't even realize the infinite possibilities that exist and how much of a connection we have with all things that exist around us, because what we see is the skyline. What we see is a cutoff point, or at least we create that for ourselves. It's a false reality that's been handed to us. But the fact of the matter is, possibilities are endless when you're able to see it from that type of perspective, and so you're being called to see that there's so many possibilities that exist around you, and all you got to do is just take the first step, take a hold of that wand. Okay, she has it in her hand right here. It's being handed to you, so take it and use it as that walking stick to get to stepping. Okay, to at least get to stepping and taking that first step. Then you have here, let your fears dissolve. Release those fears. Okay, that's the full moon in Cancer. Release those fears of the what ifs, okay? And I'm going to say it to y'all one more time, because that's talking about the fear. Do not allow your progress to become obstructed by the paralysis of analysis through fear. You're over analyzing situations, and every time you think about it, you putting fear right into that. So you putting the energy of fear into it. You putting the thoughts that are paired that are, a reflection of fear, and you're also speaking those things into existence. And so you do this repetitively. I can't go and pursue the thing that I love, because then I'm not going to have enough money to feed my family. I got bills to pay. I can't be out here doing this and that, and it's going to take me a long time to get here. And so if I do this, you're actually creating that for yourself. Shift your perspective. It's time for you to add some color to what you are creating. You are the artist. You possess the canvas board. You need to create a blank one, though. It's time for you to throw away those other ones that you created out of fear, because you got many of them stocked up that you don't even realize you have. Get you a new canvas. Create a new slate. Reset. You got to do a mental reset, a spiritual reset. Some of you might even need to do a physical reset, like a physical cleanse, purifying your vessel so that you're in alignment to be able to think clearly and to receive those intuitive messages that are coming in that's telling you, I'm guiding you down this path. And many of you also need to come into connection. You need to make that open connection with your spiritual team, your ancestors of love and light, your holy angels that exist around you. Okay, for me, I open myself up through the Holy Spirit, my holy angels, my ancestors of love and light. Of course, the Most High God, the creator of all things. That's my very first source and my most important source. And then that goddess that exists within me. I'm in complete alignment with my whole team. You see what I'm saying? And you have to speak to them and let them know, I need some help. I know y'all are here. Talk to them. Let them know I'm at a crossroads in my life where I'm not able to fully see which direction I should go in. I know what I feel, but I also know what I see in terms of, what's happening in front of me, the responsibilities that I have. Show me what I need to do. They will do that, but you got to ask for the help first. They're not going to impede on your free will. So then you have here, open up to change. The message is just repeating itself. Open up to change. Open up to closing out these old karmic cycles that just has you on the same hamster wheel. Same type of karmic lessons over and over again, just a different person, place, or thing. Same lessons, different face. It's time for something new. It's time for something new. You also have here, don't let pride get in your way. So some of you are holding on to these things because of your pride. Your pride tells you, well, I'm a nurse, so what do I look like leaving my career path to go and be the singer that I know I am, when I have this title that people respect and honor, and it's afforded me this lifestyle and this and that. But your heart you're not happy. You can barely get up every day to go punch in, but you're doing it because your pride is in the way. So this is calling you to release that ego, release that pride, and to go with what your heart is telling you to do. So then you have here, prosperity lies ahead. So in spite of whether or not you believe you're able to create this abundance for yourself, this is all up underneath your advice. Just know that prosperity does lie ahead when you move towards those things that you are passionate about through love, because that's all that green there, as well as the purple that you see there. That's all about your heart chakra and your third eye chakra, your spiritual energy, your intuition, listening to your intuition in regards to those things that you love and that you are passionate about. And that's the new moon in Taurus. So that's going to allow you to create that foundation for yourself that you have been working so hard to get to, but haven't been able to maintain because you keep on calling in these karmic lessons because you won't take the first step. So the advice is, don't let your pride get in the way. Open up to change. Let those fears dissolve, because they are an illusion that you have created for yourself. But they have also helped to shape your reality. Even though they're an illusion, they have played a large role in shaping your reality. So now that you are aware of that, okay, you use those same thoughts to create a reality that actually brings true peace, a true foundation, true happiness, okay? And where you're able to move towards those things that you actually love. You have the card of freedom coming out. The advice is free yourself, okay? And this card is very similar. It's two different decks, but it came out. freedom and that energy of understanding. This is a part of what you feared. Releasing yourself and doing something different. This bird right here in this picture is flying in a completely different direction from those other birds. You know, birds of a feather flock together, but again, you're not the same. You are different, and you know this about yourself. And so, difficulty communicating, unheard or unnoticed as a child, physical, sexual, or verbal abuse. I'm just kind of moving through this. Emotional imbalance, shyness or loneliness also came out. So I see a lot here for your root chakra. That's dealing with that energy of, all of these are dealing with your root chakra because they're all red here. Okay, a lot of root chakra energy came out. So dealing with that lack mentality, feeling as if there's not enough out here for everybody to do what they love. It's definitely enough. I told you it's infinite. There is no cutoff point except for the one that man creates for himself. And so, or the one that you allow other people to create for you. So you have here a root chakra energy. So to work on your root chakra, some of you need to do a fast, a detox, you know, just taking in all fruits and vegetables for an extended period of time, or making sure that at least the majority of your diet consists of those things so that you can really cleanse yourself. Because some of you, if you're dealing with like lower back pain, constipation, colon issues, then that's dealing with your root chakra. And then for some of you, this is going back to the roots in terms of what you've been through as a child. Doing the work to acknowledge those wounds that you have and to do what's necessary to nurture them and to heal them. So if you've been through physical, sexual, or verbal abuse as a child, then what that'll do in your adult life is it'll cause you to feel inferior. Even if it's not on the surface, there's different things that, or different ways that you will express that energy of feeling inferiority. Maybe guilt, shame, that type of energy. And so root chakra, going out into nature is really going to help you to be, you know, step into your creative energy, but it's also going to be very healing to you at the same time, because that's what nature is for. It's for us to heal, whether you're ingesting it or connecting with it. It is very healing to you. And so that's what you're being called to do in terms of healing your root chakra. Then you had a few coming out in regards to your heart chakra energy, okay? So healing your heart where you have unforgiveness or shyness or loneliness, that would be largely due to what you might have gone through as a child, you know. It might have caused you to go into that shell in order to create that protective barrier for yourself so that you wouldn't have to face those types of situations again. But that hasn't been your reality. You found that you are facing those types of situations again, just in a different type of way. Why? Because the healing has not been fully, it hasn't fully taken place to a large degree. And so you call in that same type of karmic energy to happen over and over again until you fully get the lesson. So the lesson, when you know you've gotten the lesson, that means that you've taken that step. And you knew that in taking that step, you had to literally go through a death and rebirth and release a lot of people, places, and things and thought processes. And it was it was scary, but you did it. That's when you know you've healed from those past things and you're ready to move into the next phase and the next season of your life. For some of you, you might have difficulty communicating. That would be dealing with the throat chakra. That's what I was saying in terms of you all being masters, having an understanding of, you know, what life is all about and what spirituality is all about, and having a calling to speak those things and to present those things to the world, but maybe having a fear of other people's opinions or whether or not you have what it takes, you know, but you do. And then also you have here the third eye chakra. So this is dealing with your spiritual eyes and listening to your intuition. Some of you might need to eliminate fluoride toothpaste from your diet. From your beauty routine. I don't recommend fluoride toothpaste for anybody. It's a lot of non-fluoride toothpaste, but it does calcify your pineal gland, and it causes you to not be able to make that connection with the spiritual aspect of yourself and life, and to be able to hear to see things from a spiritual perspective. And so ways that you can heal that is by using things like lavender, or sun gazing is really good for opening up your spiritual eyes, or using crystals like amethyst. Any purple crystal is good for your third eye. And then let me see. Also, yeah, I did mention sun gazing. If you have an extreme sensitivity to light, you find yourself wearing shades all the time when it's sunny, that's when you need to take the shades off so that you can actually allow the sunlight to penetrate into your you know, because they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. And so when you sun gaze, consider, you know, the soul and also the solar rays, and it's going in, you know, through your eyes, those you know, the sun rays going through your eyes and allowing you to align, you know, your chakras, to balance out your chakras. So it's, you know, it goes a lot deeper than that, but you're being called to open up your intuition, okay? Because that's what you're needing right now. So going within, doing the work, awakening your creative energy, taking advantage of those opportunities that's being given to you, allowing yourself to go through the transformation if you haven't already done it. And if you have done the transformation, allowing yourself to take that understanding that you've gained and to use it in your practical life to free yourself and to take advantage of those new opportunities that's coming in. And so that's what I got for y'all. I know this was a long reading, but that's, you know, that's my norm. Sometimes it can get like that. I hope this was able to resonate with you all. If it did, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like a private reading from me, you can always email me. And I thank you all for the donations. And I'll talk to you all next time.